Christ has revealed your glory to all nations. Please protect and preserve Belize, our beloved country. God of might, wisdom, and justice, please assist our Belizean government and people with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct their plans and endeavors, so that with your help we may attain our just objectives. With your guidance, may all our endeavors tend to peace, social justice, liberty, national happiness, the increase of industry, sobriety, and useful knowledge. We pray, O God of mercy, for all of us that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your most holy law, that we may be preserved in union and in that peace in which the world itself cannot give. And after enjoying the blessings of this life, please admit us, dear Lord, to that eternal reward that you have prepared for those who love you.
Oath of allegiance.
Clerk, please administer the oath of allegiance to the new senators.
I, Linsford Castillo, do swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Belize, and will uphold the Constitution and the law, and that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge my duties as a senator, and do right to all manner of people without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
I, Cornelio Acosta, do swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Belize, and will uphold the Constitution and the law, and that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge my duties as a senator and do right to all manner of people without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
I, Sheena Pitts, do swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Belize, and will uphold the Constitution and the law, and that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge my duties as a senator and do right to all manner of people without fear or fervor, affection, or ill will. So help me God.
Congratulations to you, senators, and welcome back, I think I ought to say, to Senator Sheena Pitts and Senator Linsford Castillo, and welcome, Senator Cornelia Acosta.
Announcement by the President.
Good morning again. I have two announcements before we move into the business of the day. First, tomorrow, June 30th, 2022, is celebrated as the International Day of Parliamentarism. This day was established in 2018 through a United Nations General Assembly resolution. It brings recognition to the critical importance of the role of Parliament as the cornerstone of a functioning democracy. In commemoration of this day, the National Assembly of Belize, in collaboration with the Office of the United Nations in Belize, will hold a masterclass on human rights and development for parliamentarians at the Jaguar Auditorium at the University of Belize. For reference and as a resource material, all senators have been provided with a human rights handbook for parliamentarians, courtesy of the Office of the UN Resident Coordinator. Honorable senators, you are all invited to attend this activity in celebration of the International Day of Parliamentarism. For temporary senators, we will ensure that you get a copy of the handbook after this session today. Second, as you're aware, Belize is a member of Parliamericas, an independent network composed of national legislatures of 35 states from North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean. Its work involves strengthening democracy and governance in the hemisphere through political dialogue and parliamentary cooperation. I sit on the board of directors of Parliamericas. I am therefore pleased to inform this honorable chamber that a mandate to promote parliamentary dialogue and engagement in the Summit of the Americas process through Parliamericas has been adopted by the heads of state and government on June 9, 2022, in the Inter-American Action Plan on Democratic Governance at the 9th Summit of the Americas held in Los Angeles, USA, from June 6 to the 10th, 2022. This particular point can be referenced at 24F on page 10. A copy of the said declaration will be shared with all parliamentarians. On behalf of Parliamericas, therefore, I extend a thank you to the Prime Minister of Belize, the Honorable John Briceño, for supporting and championing the request of Parliamericas for parliamentary dialogue to be a structured and an integral part of the Summit of Americas process, as it has been for civil society organizations and the private sector for many years. I also extend a thank you to the Foreign Minister, Honorable Eamon Courtney, and Leader of Government Business for the support of his office, through which the request was made by both the Speaker of the House and I on behalf of Parliamericas. Honorable members, by letter dated 3rd June 2022, Cabinet's recommendation has been signified to the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Belize COVID-19 Response Project, US $6.2 million Loan Motion 2022.
The House of Representatives.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Good morning, Madam President and colleagues. I welcome the temporary senators. Madam President, I rise to take charge of the Belize Companies Bill 2022. Madam President, in accordance with Standing Order 49-1, I move that the bill be taken through all its stages forthwith.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be taken through all its stages forthwith. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it.
Papers.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to lay on the table sessional paper 27/1/14, Holchan Marine Reserve Annual Budget for Financial Year April 1, 2022 to March 31st, 2023.
Honorable members, that paper is ordered to lie on the table.
Motion relating to the business or sitting of the Senate.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, I move that at its rising today, the Senate adjourn to a date to be fixed by the President.
All those in favor, kindly say aye.
Aye.
Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it.
Public business, government business, motions.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, I move that whereas Belize, being a member of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, is eligible for development assistance in the form of loans, grants, and technical assistance from the bank on such terms and conditions as may be agreed between Belize and the bank from time to time, and whereas the government of Belize has approached the bank for financial assistance to implement Belize's COVID-19 emergency response project to be undertaken by the Ministry of Health, and whereas this project will finance 1, the purchasing of COVID-19 vaccines, 2, deploying these vaccines to the Belizean population, and 3, strengthening the capacity of Belize's health emergency system response in accessing ancillary supply kits, personal protective equipment, and medical supplies, broadening an outreach program to provide integrated essential health services, capacity building to strengthen infection control and waste management practices, digitizing data reporting systems in outreach areas, supporting COVID-19 immunization campaigns, and acquiring medical equipment to strengthen COVID-19 case management. And whereas the bank has offered financing of up to $6.2 million for the said purpose under the following terms and conditions. Lender, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, loan principal amount, US $6.2 million, disbursement schedule over a period of 2 years from the date of signature of the loan contract up to 31st August 2024, 4 months after the closing date of 30th of April 2024. Term, 18 years inclusive of a 48-month grace period on principal repayments. Repayment period to be repaid in 28 approximately equal semi-annual and consecutive installments of about US $221,428.57 on the 15th April and 15th October in each year. The purpose, to support the government of Belize's COVID-19 response project in the acquisition and deployment of COVID-19 vaccines and enhance the capability of Belize's healthcare system to respond to health emergencies. Rate of interest, reference rate based on a USD secured overnight financing rate, plus the variable spread or such rate as may apply following a conversion. The rate is currently at about 0.28%, but will be fixed on a date of signing. Front-end fee, 1/4% per annum on the unwithdrawn loan balance. And whereas under the provisions of the Finance and Audit, and whereas under provision section 72 of the Finance and Audit Reform Act 2005, the government of Belize is required to obtain a private authorization for National Assembly by way of resolution for such a borrowing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the loan proceeds will significantly assist the government of Belize in its continuous effort to contain and mitigate the spread of and death by COVID-19 and strengthen the ability of the health system to respond to future health emergencies, approves and confirms that the government may enter into a loan contract with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the said loan contract and all other documents associated therewith. Very quickly, Madam President, I should just mention that, in fact, the government of Belize has already spent most of this money. This money is now being reimbursed to the government. It was spent with the permission of the World Bank at the height of the pandemic to buy the vaccines, etc. Some of the money is being reallocated now to strengthening the awareness program for the continuing fight against COVID, and, if necessary, the purchase of additional vaccines. So just to make the point that this loan, the actual disbursement has been late because of the processing, but the World Bank had authorized the expenditure to meet the emergency when it was at its height.
I recognize Senator Beverly Willis.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, colleagues. That one certainly took us off guard. The money is already spent and now when you come here, we're thinking that this is something that's just coming for the new wave of COVID. But we say and echo the chorus that is always been in this house in this chamber for years. And in the House of Representatives, we are borrowing again $6 million, $6.2 million, 500 million of that is for purchasing of vaccines. So then, if it's already spent, what was the procurement process? Who got the contract? Was it a government acquisition, or was it a middleman? What happened there? Maybe that could have been provided if the money was already spent. The remaining $2.3 million, you see here, yes, it's outlined, and we just know that it's already spent. Purchasing of ancillary supplies and kits. Was there a special contract? Was it procured by government? And then you see things like another contract, acquisition of medical equipment to strengthen COVID-19 case management. And then at 8, supporting analytical activities for evidence-based decision-making and vaccine uptake and deployment. What was that? Maybe we can understand. It seems like a jumble of words to me. But now where we are, all I can say is spending $6 million on a response project, Madam President, when last month vaccines were expiring on us. They were hurriedly offering second boosters to us because they were expiring. But I was of the impression that we're buying new vaccines. We already bought them. Were those the expired ones? And buying vaccines when vaccines are being given away across the world. And so I don't see how I can support the motion, Madam President. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Sheena Pitts.
Thank you kindly, Madam President. I would, by way of query, an encouragement to the government that in keeping with the terms of the loan agreement, it be televised in a way to display the transparency which the government committed to under its good governance motion. And that is because of two things. First, we're learning that this money was accessed and has been disbursed and spent. And the business of attending to COVID is a serious one. And so my contributions are sobered in that regard. However, prior to now, during our tenure in these very chambers, we had accessed monies before for the fight of COVID. And so what I am saying by way of query and through transparency is that the government share with the people of Belize in a transparent way what those monies first accessed were used for and the breakdown, and this not new disbursement, but the disbursement and what it has been applied to, so that we don't have the knee-jerk reaction to think or to conclude that would come ask for money for the same thing again when we're supposed to don't spend the money already on it from our own coffers. So that is just as a matter of clarification. I would urge the government and a matter of transparency so that there is left to no one, no Belizean, any lingering thought that there is anything, and I dare not impute it, untoward about the monies being accessed for COVID response. We want to know what the monies are being spent for, how much, and what is the balance, and why we're continuing to access monies for the same thing, if that is it. Another thing I'd like to point out is, on a previous occasion, when we dealt with loan motions, I had contributed by saying I perhaps missed the terms of the loan. At that time, leader of government business thought perhaps I wasn't prepared, but I was. Different from then and now is that presenting this bill, he has gone through it. What is important and what I point out is that the tenure of the loan is 18 years. The reason why I point that out is we already have loans that we have accessed prior to now. These are consecutive loans stretched out over a period of time. It far passes the government's term, or if they want to be optimistic, their second term in office. But we must be mindful how we encumber taxpayers' money and the aggregate sum of loans that we are bringing on the country. The last thing I would like to address, and my colleague, Senator, referred to it in terms of the contracts and whether or not it opens the door for anything unscrupulous. Now, I will not say that, because if we go through the Schedule 2 of the agreement under Section 1 implementation arrangement, Part B, 1C says that the government is obliged to employ corruption and fraud measures. Because that is there, and because this loan is going to be subject to review by the entity we're borrowing from, I would like to rest assured that corruption and fraud measures are in fact engaged. To that end, though, I began by saying this should be done in a transparent way so that the formalities of this loan is done in a transparent way, and whatever mechanism the government employs in executing the term of the loan is televised. We learn of what corruption and fraud mechanisms measures are employed to safeguard against what my fellow senator have suggested may or may not. That is not where I stand. Where I stand is the mechanisms that are in the agreement that are subject to constant supervision. I believe that the government should do that in a transparent way and have the public be aware of every step of the way. And those would, before I finish though, in the agreement, it provides under the project description, Madam President, Part 1, COVID-19 response. If we go to sub B, Roman 3, it sets out all the objectives that the loan is supposed to achieve. And I will read: capacity to 1, strengthen infection control and waste management practices; 2, update the borrower's waste management plan; 3, increase climate awareness and resilience; and 4, increase awareness and knowledge about gender-based violence and equip male and female frontline workers with leadership and self-care skills. When we go to the motion, we see a recitation of those objectives there, save and except for the portion that deals with increasing awareness and knowledge about gender-based violence. And I am querying, therefore, whether or not that was an omission by oversight, or if it is that having accessed this loan, that the government then will not address the very objective to increase awareness and knowledge about gender-based violence in the terms of the project description. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Elena Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. I think I myself did not expect to hear that, well, this isn't a new loan. It's one that was received before. We reviewed this matter as a new loan. And so our concerns, Madam President, as we would normally share, would be as it relates to loans, because we are aware that the country, as we were told, was in dire straits in terms of economically, and the government had to do its best to figure out ways of being able to survive. And we know that there was a group put together to address the matter of the blue bond, just to help us to be able to be afloat. And so, considering all of that and having before us now a loan of 6.2, and having had previous loans come before us, we are concerned that we may eventually end up where we were. Because if we cleared one, because we want to be kept afloat, but yet almost every time we have a Senate meeting there's a loan motion, we may end up in that very same place again. And I hope you recall that if we are to end up in that place, who will be the persons to suffer? And so, Madam President, we just would like to caution, as we would normally do, that loans, while we understand that we need to have loans at times to function or to do certain things, loans will end up putting us into problems and our people will suffer. So I just like to put that caution before us, and for us to always remember that at the end of the day, while it's easy to get a loan, the burden falls on the taxpayers of this country. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Janelle Chanona.
Good morning, Madam President, and good morning to the new colleagues. We would only offer, in addition to calling for a breakdown of the use of the funds to date, perhaps a national update exactly on where we are with COVID. I don't pretend to contend that I watch every moment of local TV, but I will confess that what I have seen has been more about activities and parties that couldn't be held during COVID being advertised, as opposed to COVID relief and support, and most importantly, vaccines. In fact, local news this week showed that the last requirement, I believe, of COVID was on its last days in terms of having to be fully vaccinated in order to leave the country. So I think, well, in addition to the repayment term, I think we've all accepted that COVID is here to stay, but certainly that we have to reconcile the costs of that in more than one way. So I would only ask on behalf of the sector I represent that we maintain vigilance and promotion of the relief being offered, particularly on the medical front, because as the other senators have called out, COVID is still causing hospitalizations and downtime in the business sector, in the productive sector, and we can't take that lightly. That is a cost that we will bear for some time. So I would only ask that we remind ourselves of what support is out there and continue to urge all Belizeans who have not been vaccinated and not taken up any of those opportunities to please do so. I am a proponent of vaccines, but I certainly understand if someone has questions that they should get answers to those questions. And I will again confess, not making a unilateral statement, but I haven't seen that push for vaccines in the last couple months, certainly, and I think we're still hovering at 50%, and I think just in terms of my network, most people believe we're already at herd immunity, so vaccines are relevant. But again, as this shows, we paid for those vaccines, so maybe if we were all cognizant that we have paid for those vaccines and allowed for them to expire, or a number of them to expire, then that would have factored into some more informed decision making. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Herrera.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, colleagues. and new senators. First of all, I feel the same way as my colleagues. We came here to treat this as a new loan motion, and we came and we got a different job. So therefore, for me this morning, it was only going to be about accountability. To date, government has not provided a dollar figure to all the expired and waste of the COVID-19 vaccine and other vaccines that have been just disposed of. To date, statistical data shows as yesterday that only 49.3% has been vaccinated of our Belizean population, falling well short of the 70% that the ministry is being targeted. So now we ask, or we would like to know, will there be a new vaccination plan? Because we have $6.2 million. And we're here not to support or not support the bill because the money has been spent or it's been allocated. So that would be my only contribution to this motion, Madam President. However, this morning I would like to seek your permission to wish travel mercies to all the fishermen of this country as the opening of the lobster season starts. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President, I regret the response from senators on the side opposite. First of all, it is absolutely amazing that there are, first of all, imputations, suggestions that things may have been misspent, that there is no accountability and no transparency. I said, and I have been misquoted, I said, this is money that was sought from the World Bank at the height of the COVID pandemic. The government of Belize, with the permission of the World Bank, spent money whilst this loan was being processed. Most of this money, I said, would be reimbursing government for expenditure that was authorized, and secondly, for increasing the awareness program. That is what I said. Senator Pitts was in this honorable Senate and debated more than one motion, supplementary expenditure. You will recall, Madam President, supplementary expenditures for COVID, specifically for COVID. Now we hear that they object to the fact that government buy vaccine. 600 and odd Belizeans have died. Probably reached 700 now, but well over 600. And we come here pretending to be patriots, suggesting that when we were in a worldwide pandemic, when vaccines were unavailable, when they failed to procure vaccines through diplomatic efforts, when we came to power and we secured more than 500,000 through our efforts, let them put on record how many they got. The position is very simple, Madam President. COVAX facility was announced by the World Health Organization. And we had to pay, they paid, when they were in government, they paid the first deposit. We have to pay for those. Those vaccines were late in coming, and that is why India, Mexico, and latterly the United States, the United Kingdom provided vaccines to us. Barbados was the first to donate out of their contribution. The United Arab Emirates provided vaccines for us. The COVAX vaccine, which we had to pay for, was late in coming. Now we hear criticism about vaccines being expired and being thrown away. We can make a decision. We can make a decision and have mandatory vaccination. They won't expire. who will be the first to shout and scream if government announce that vaccinations will be mandatory in this country? Madam President, the position is very simple. Under the sterling leadership of Minister Kevin Bernard and public officers who don't get the praise from the outside opposite, have been going house to house, village to village, offering to vaccinate unvaccinated persons, to give second shots and boosters, house to house, because the decision was taken by the experts in the Ministry of Health that as far as the public radio and television campaign was concerned, they did not believe that we were getting value for money in terms of the uptake. And so a lot of that money was withdrawn, Senator Janona, from the radio and TV to allow people to go house to house, village to village, to offer it to people. That was the shift, because they were advertising it, but no one was taking it up. You can go right to nursing school and you will see people are there, 2-3 people to take the vaccination. Let me repeat. 1, all monies spent on COVID, there have been supplementary allocations brought to this House, there have been budgets brought to this House where disclosure have been made and debates have been held. All contracts have been put before the Contractor General for approval. That is a process in our law. And this loan, Madam President, is a loan, a new loan, hence it is going to be executed, but I disclose that with the permission of the World Bank, some of the money was already spent because of the emergency that we were facing, and some will be reallocated now to boosting again the education campaign because, as Senator Pitt said, COVID is here with us forever. So I commend the motion to the Senate, and I'm disappointed that people are not prepared to support the motion.
Honorable members, the question is now, therefore be it resolved that this Honorable House, being satisfied that the loan proceeds will significantly assist the government of Belize in its continuous efforts to contain and mitigate the spread of and deaths caused by COVID-19 and strengthen the ability of the health system to respond to future health emergencies, approves and confirms that the government may enter into a loan contract with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development on the terms and conditions set out above, and further authorizes the Minister of Finance to execute and deliver the said loan contract and all other documents associated therewith. All those in favor, kindly say aye.
Aye.
Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the protocol to amend the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas establishing the Caribbean Community, including the CARICOM single market and economy, to allow enhanced cooperation among member states and to address related issues, was signed by Belize on 2 March 2022. And whereas the objective of the enhanced protocol is to allow for member states of CARICOM to establish enhanced cooperation among themselves within the framework of the principal goals and objectives of the revised treaty. And whereas the government of Belize is desirous of ratifying the enhanced protocol pursuant to Article 2362 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and whereas Section 61A2A of the Belize Constitution, as amended by the Belize Constitution, 6th Amendment Act, number 13 of 2008, provides that the Senate shall authorize the accession to any treaty by the government of Belize. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the enhanced protocol, a full text of which is here to annex. Madam President, I ask that the question be put, that it be referred to the Constitutional and Foreign Affairs Committee.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the protocol to amend Article 32 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas establishing the Caribbean Community, including the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, was signed by Belize on the 2nd March 2022, and whereas the objective of the protocol is to clarify the connection of Montserrat required for a person to be regarded as a national of Montserrat for the purposes of Article 32(5)(a)(2) of the revised treaty, and whereas the government of Belize is desirous of ratifying the enhanced protocol pursuant to 2362, that should be wrong, is desirous of ratifying the protocol relating to clarifying the connection of Montserrat pursuant to Article 2362 of the revised treaty, and whereas Section 61(a)(2)(a) of the Belize Constitution, as amended by the Belize Constitution 6th Amendment Act number 13 of 2008, provides that the Senate shall authorize the accession to any treaty by the government of Belize. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the enhanced protocol, a full text of which is here to annex. Ask that it be referred.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report.
Bills for second reading.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to move a second reading of a bill for an act to repeal, replace, and consolidate the International Business Companies Act, Chapter 270 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and the Companies Act, Chapter 250 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to further establish and facilitate a modernized framework for the registration, operation, and regulation of companies, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto.
I recognize Senator Kevin Herrera.
Madam President. Madam President, I'll be very brief. I rise, first of all, to support the bill. I think that it's an extremely important step in modernizing modernizing the Companies Act, which it will become after it's signed into law. This has been a long process, Madam President. I think that the business community was very much involved in the discussions and in the consultations that took place along with government over the years. And so we basically don't have any issues with the bill. In fact, we fully support it. And some of the things that we like in the bill that certainly improves on what was there before, and I'll just be very brief like with this, as I said before, is it provides for a listing of companies and stock exchanges. And as you know, this is important to raise capital, whether through equity or debt. It certainly gives us another avenue, or will give us another avenue within the country by which companies or individuals can raise capital with respect to companies. Another provision, Madam President, is the requirement for that there will be no requirement for private trust companies. I think that is extremely important with respect to following examples in best practice jurisdictions. It removes the statutory limits regarding a limited number of shareholders. This change aligns, again, with best practices in other jurisdictions. There's a provision recognizing electronic processes. Again, this is extremely important, Madam President, in modernizing this act. We're talking about electronic contracts, we're talking about electronic signatures, we're talking about even virtual participation in meetings by members, shareholders, and the like. And so I think this is important with respect to the time in which we live. And I think there's one thing that COVID taught us is that a lot of things can be done remotely or virtually. And it's also in many instances a very efficient way by which people can meet and conduct business. And so, again, we're fully in support of those processes. It strengthens the winding up, the liquidation, striking off, and dissolution of companies. Again, Madam President, a lot of what went into this legislation was really to bring the companies act up to date. And so when this bill is passed, and I'm sure it will certainly be a big step in updating the legislation. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Sheena Pitts.
Thank you, Madam President. I join with Senator Herrera in supporting the bill, and I do understand that the presentation of the bill as is a result of a long consultation process, and many stakeholders were invited to input, and for the most part, those input were taken into consideration. And so now, me coming in at the back end would not like to do anything to take away from that consultation process. I would just like to make some inquiries on record, and hopefully Leader of Government Business can clarify for me, for my personal benefit, whether that be today or another day if he is so minded to enjoy my company, no? There is one quick, where is it, 290? In the bill, there is a reference to a cross-referencing of the sections, and in part 16, investigation of companies, section 275, it reads in sections 276 to 281, inspector means an inspector appointed by an order made under section 290 sub 2. But if you go to the section, you will see that the bill has no section 290 sub 2. So I do believe that that is an error, one of administrative workability, that perhaps can be corrected before the bill is finalized. And there are few others like that. I do not wish to trespass on the job description of any of my government workers to go through this document and point it out for them, just to acknowledge that I have seen it, and perhaps a second eye can go through the bill and identify where there are cross-referencing like that. In relation to that same section that deals with investigations, it provides a long process of having to go to court to get an order and that sort of thing, which is quite standard or expected. However, what I note is that having appointed an inspector or an investigator and that person conducts such an investigation, the fruits of that investigation, the court proceedings prior to that, subject to a gag order, and his report attaching absolute privilege, I am wondering, and if it can be clarified for me, whether or not the commission, or if there are any regulations that makes provisions for a follow-through of those investigations, because it is born out of someone alleging that there may have been fraud or some misgiving in relation to the business of the company. And so if you get an investigation that provides a report that lays out whatever it lays out, what is in the bill that provides for that investigation being sent to the commission so that the commission can take action on it, or what will the commission do in the face of that in terms of reporting, whether or not it is to the Financial Intelligence Unit or the Director of Public Prosecutions? I appreciate the intention of privilege in Section 281, subsection 1, but I am not so certain that the privilege attached restricts the report from going to the commission or to Financial Intelligence Unit or the DPP should the findings of an investigation show that there is any actions untoward. In relation to inspection of company documents or meetings, let me be specific. In Section 90, subsection 3, it provides that the directors can exercise a discretion if they are satisfied that it would be contrary to the company's interest to allow the inspection of any documents, parts of it, or the whole, or whether or not copying it would be permitted. And I understand the rationale for it. However, exercising a discretion is always a tricky thing, and it may, in certain circumstances, operate to prevent a member who would like to find out information before they can access a court to say whether they want to use it in terms of an investigation for fraud or anything. However, the subsection, in that same section 90, it provides that a member can go to court for an order to access the inspection. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. My only thought on it is whether or not these are unnecessary hurdles to access company documents, which by the terms of the legislation is not an all-out entitlement. Crave your indulgence, Madam President. The amendments before the presentation of the bill to define foreign company and foreign director from a legal standpoint is a good thing, and the reading of it operates to relieve and the requirements of incorporating a company. The reading of it operates to relieve a domestic company from having to retain registered agents or lawyers, taking away from our business, government senator, but it's relieving domestic companies from those requirements of incorporating. So if as a layman, you understand the basics of incorporating and registering and carry on business, the bill addresses that, and that is timely, and it attaches the rights and benefits of the country as a Belizean being a domestic company, which is, from a legal perspective, a good thing. In closing, I reiterate the timeliness of the bill. I don't want to go through much of the other things that I've flagged. And I repeat, perhaps that is just in the back end an opportunity for me to share that, or leader of opposition business when he reverts, so that minor amendments and other considerations can be perhaps explained or looked at again, even though this has been an exhaustive process, to make the bill perfect. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Elena Smith.
I just have a few comments, a few other matters I will raise in committee, but from our colleagues in the Public Service Union, Madam President, there is a concern that they have as it relates to Section 293. I have a letter, it speaks to appointment of staff of the registry shall be in accordance with Section 10 of the Financial Services Commission Act. I have in my possession a letter sent to the PM, Financial Secretary, and Minister Koyi, where they queried this matter. And if I may, Madam President, may I just read what it says here? It says, the Public Service Union of Belize notes, not surprisingly, that the bill has been introduced in the House of Representatives without any prior notice or input from the PSU to address the employment, tenure, and superannuation benefits of public officers therein. In relation to staff, we note that the introduced bill under Section 293 states the following. Appointment of staff of the registry shall be in accordance with Section 10 of the Financial Services Commission Act. However, a review of Part 3 of the IFSC Act, Section 10, which deals with the appointment of staff, there is absolutely nothing therein that provides for the transfer and status of staff currently under the employ of the government in the Belize Companies and Corporate Affairs Registry. And so they had requested, Madam President, that before this matter was brought to the Senate, that they had requested a meeting so that they could have shared their concerns as it relates to this matter. I am being told that to date, they have received no response, and so they are very much concerned that this matter is proceeding, and they have not had a chance to provide input, especially as it relates to the matter of the staff. And so we are concerned with that matter, and I trust that the Leader of Government Business will be able to shed some light on that matter, that we can be able to get some clarity on it, that at least these persons who work within this specific area can be relieved and can be assured that all will be well for them. So I look forward to getting that response. I thank you.
Madam President, I thank Senator Kevin Herrera and Senator Sheena Pitts for supporting the bill. Madam President, perhaps I can start with responding to Senator Elena Smith's concern. I have been informed by Minister of State Koyi that, in fact, the matter raised by the Public Service Union will be addressed. My information is that the 7 members of staff at the the IBC registry, are open vote workers. Those 7 will be offered contracts. Upon the establishment of the registry, there are, I believe, 7 or 8 that are at the domestic components registry who are on the permanent establishment. Those employees will be provided with those positions will become redundant because a new registry will be created. Those employees will be offered their full benefits, whether it is they want to retire, whether they want to be transferred within the public service or continue in the public service, or whether they want to retire and get their benefits and then be offered a position at the new registry. My understanding from the memorandum that was sent to me is that those employees will be given priority to continue, if they so choose, in the positions. So in other words, if you are a researcher now on a permanent establishment, you would be given an opportunity to say, listen, I want to stay in the public service, put me in another ministry. Or, no, give me my benefits, and I will apply to go to the registry to be the same researcher or some other position. The assurance, Senator Smith, she's shaking her head, that as I have been informed, is that those who are on a permanent establishment will be given the opportunities that always exist when you move from creating a government department to a statutory entity. With respect to, so the long and short of it is that no employee is intended or will be prejudiced by the passage into law of this act. Senator Pitts has raised some typos. I believe the section that they were referring to is 276.2, but in any event, we'll clear those up. And I know Senator Smith has indicated to me that there are others. Madam President, I just want to very briefly say that as all the senators who have spoken before me have said on this bill, this has been an extremely long process. It has been subject to a lot of consultation. The current Companies Act is dated 1914. It is completely out of date. It is over 100 years old, and it does not take account of the points highlighted by Senator Kevin Herrera. First of all, modernization in terms of technology, and this bill is intended to take advantage of those modernization features that we have become accustomed to. Secondly, in terms of raising capital, by the bringing of the international business companies and the domestic companies into one type, you can raise capital locally as well as externally in order to make investments in Belize. Thirdly, the whole question of mergers, demergers, liquidations, winding up of companies have been modernized. Fourthly, which is very important, I believe Senator Pitts will know this from her practice, the rights of minority shareholders under the old law as it is right now are very limited. This new legislation will give statutory rights for minority shareholders to ensure that they're treated fairly by majority shareholders. And if they are not being treated fairly and are being prejudiced, they have rights and remedies spelled out in the bill. And that's a major advance for people who own 5%, 10%. Even in family companies, they have to be, their rights as shareholders have to be respected. Again, it provides for simplification of what is known as the ultra vires principle, which is under our existing law, if a company doesn't say it can buy land, if it buys land, it's a nullity. That is being simplified so that the company can do everything that a human would do, except those things which it says it can't do. And that removes a lot of uncertainty, not only for owners, operators, but also for banks and other financial institutions who have to say, show me where you can borrow money to buy this or to do a particular type of investment. It provides for single members companies, single member directors, and smaller committees, making it more efficient. This bill, Madam President, members of the Senate, is in keeping with Plan Belize Manifesto, attempting to make it easier to do business in Belize. So you know that it's one of the challenges, and the purpose of this is to enhance the ability of persons who want to do investments, people who want to organize their business, who want to get financing, raise capital, and to conduct business in Belize. So I commend it to this Honorable Senate, Madam President.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to repeal, replace, and consolidate the International Business Companies Act, Chapter 270 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and the Companies Act, Chapter 250 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to further establish and facilitate a modernized framework for the registration, operation, and regulation of companies, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto, be read a second time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it.
The bill for an act to repeal, replace, and consolidate the International Business Company Act, Chapter 270 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and the Companies Act, Chapter 250 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to further establish and facilitate a modernized framework for the registration, operation, and regulation of companies, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Committee of the Whole Senate on Motion and Bill.
If there are any visitors in the gallery, I ask that you please clear the gallery. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, the Constitutional and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered the resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the protocol to amend the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas establishing the Caribbean Community, including the CARICOM single market and economy, to allow enhanced cooperation among member states and to address related issues, motion 2022, and has agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. I therefore move that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the enhanced protocol. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, the Constitutional and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered the resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the protocol to amend Article 32 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas establishing the Caribbean Community, including the CARICOM single market and economy, motion 2022, and has agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. I therefore move that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the enhanced protocol. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it.
Reporting and third reading of bill.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole Senate has considered the Belize Companies Bill 2022 and passed it without amendment. I now move that the bill be read a third time.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to repeal, replace, and consolidate the International Business Company Act, Chapter 270 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and the Companies Act, Chapter 250 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to further establish and facilitate a modernized framework for the registration, operation, and regulation of companies, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto, be read a third time. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it.
The bill for an act to repeal, replace, and consolidate the International Business Company Act, Chapter 270 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, and the Companies Act, Chapter 250 of the Substantive Laws of Belize, Revised Edition 2020, to further establish and facilitate a modernized framework for the registration, operation, and regulation of companies, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that this very brief session of the Senate do now adjourn.
Before I place the question, I wish to use this opportunity to say congratulations to our Senator Isabel Bennett. She recently got married. I have advised the clerk to check with you to see if you wish for your nameplate to be amended. Honorable members, the question is that the Senate do now adjourn. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. The ayes have it. The Senate now stands adjourned.